Should work. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm happy to have you guys on. Welcome to this bi-weekly webinar series where we share the stories of life designers and change makers, and also their secrets to success. And as you maybe will hear from JB, he doesn't have necessarily a secret, as I heard out of some YouTube clips. My name is Kai Kristen. I'm the founder of the Lifestyle Design Convention. And with me, my host, my main host boss is Daniel Yordi. He's the founder of the Change Makers Hub. Check his stuff out. And most importantly, we're together today, this morning, this afternoon with JB Glossinger. He's the founder of, basically MorningCoach, a podcast and app at the same time, right? Where you get daily positive energy and they share it with the whole world. And I love that because it's every morning, it's like a syringe or like a fuse of motivation. And I love that idea. You also are the author of several books. One is called, interestingly enough, Intelligent Life Design. And you're probably the first guy who had a living room full of his own books from floor to ceiling. So we maybe go into that story a little bit later. Yeah, man, it's a pleasure to have you on board this time.
I'm great. Hey, it's fun to be here. I'm glad to be here. Hopefully we can get some great takeaways for everybody and help them live that life they're looking to live. That's what it's about.
Absolutely. And to get those takeaways, my friends out there, it's really important that you guys ask the questions that you have, because that's the purpose of a webinar, is that you guys can ask as many questions as you like, and we all try, and JB will try to answer them all. So, first question from me to you, JB. We'll dive into the topic of intelligent life design, which is the main topic of this webinar. But maybe you could just share with the audience a little bit of your story, also concerning that living room full of books.
Well, yeah, no problem. I don't mind sharing that a little bit. I mean, it's a story of really a lot of failures, and I'm okay. I'm not afraid to say that. In fact, I embrace failure right now. There's a few things we're doing that are failing right now, and in our business, we're constantly trying to fail more. And the reason is because that's what's made us successful. And I think for most people, they're afraid to fail. They're afraid to fail, and it's justifiable. I mean, I don't think anybody wants to fail, but for me, I always knew there was a better way. Like I went to corporate. I did the MBA, did a PhD. I went and got all the traditional education, thinking that I needed that to be able to be successful. And I literally rose to the ranks in aerospace and had a lot of corporate success. I did pretty good in that area. Was running a small company, started off in sales, 16 years. But through that whole time, I was really miserable. I was on Friday night, I would start drinking, come home from work, sometimes on Thursday, and that would last through Sunday, and then Monday I'd start all over again. I'd go to the job, I'd drive to work. I was a boss, so it was supposed to be really cool, and I was on the board of directors, and I really thought that I'd hit that pinnacle of what you're supposed to be, making great money, but I was miserable. I mean, I couldn't stand sitting in an office all day, and really, I wanted to be free, and I knew there had to be a better way to live. And so my thought process is I was so much into personal development. I listened to those great founders, I guess you could say, all the way back to Napoleon Hill, Email Q, who's way back when, to Tony Robbins, from the 70s and 80s, and listen to all these guys, Zig Ziglar, rest in peace. And I thought, man, I would really like to motivate people. I've got this energy. And that's the one thing I've always had, is I would like to give that energy. So my assumption was that, you wrote a book, and the book would become a bestseller, and you'd make millions of dollars, and it was an easy business. And so I was in corporate, had all the degrees and everything, and I started writing the book while I was working. And so I did what I thought you were supposed to do. I quit my job. And so I quit my job to go become this motivational speaker. And I found out it wasn't that easy. Literally, I spent $40,000 to get the book produced and printed, which was, I think about it now, it's insane. But I thought that's what you did. And in my mind, as these books were coming to my house, these 3,000 books, I was thinking, that we would sell them in a weekend. I'm thinking, 3,000 books, I'll just buy more. We'll take the money. I'm spending $5-6 a piece. you start doing the math in your head. And, I think most entrepreneurs have done this before where they're thinking about the investment they're making, but they're so far out in front already going, you know what, I'm going to make all this money. It's okay. I'll just keep spending money, but the money's going to come. The issue for me was when those books came to the house, and I'll never forget the day the guy called and said, hey, the books are on the way. And I answered the phone. He says, do you have the forklift ready? I was like, you got to be kidding me. Forklift? What do I need a forklift for? I've bought books before. They come in this little box. And a few minutes later, a semi pulled up filled with these boxes of books that we had bought. And, we brought them all in. And again, I was banking in my head. I was telling my wife, don't worry, we'll sell them all. And as we brought them in, I mean, literally, we had them in the kitchen, in the bathroom. They were everywhere. I mean, we had books everywhere. And I went to an event that weekend. And that weekend, I was excited because I was speaking at that event. I actually paid to speak. $500 to pay to speak. I just think about that. Unbelievable. You actually paid to speak. But when I got there, we put these books up. We made this huge fort of books. If you can imagine a trade show booth with just books everywhere, this huge, like books, like they were everywhere. And so I was in the middle of these books, and I did my speech, and I came back, and we sold 6 books that day. And so I paid $500 to speak, like $1,000 on the booth, and made $80. So not only had I spent all my money on this and left my job, we just didn't make any money. And the little bit of money I had, I put into a website, and I thought that the website would be where the books would be sold. So the website launched the next week, and I was looking at my email when we launched the website, and 3 people bought books. I was so excited. I'm like, yes, this is the start. And then it was my mom, like my cousin, and my mom's friend. And then we didn't have any other sales because I didn't understand traffic. I didn't understand you needed to, I just thought you put the website up and people would work. And, I was really naive. I believed in, the dream board, putting it up on the wall, and, I just believed. I guess I watched The Secret one too many times. But it just didn't work, it was just a travesty of errors. I kept failing. I went to a small bookstore in Fort Lauderdale, and I put my books up and was waiting for people to come. They had all these white chairs set up for me to speak to all these people that were going to come. We had the poster out front, and nobody came. So I stood there, and finally one guy walked to the bookstore, and he kind of looked around and sat down. So I started my speech. I was all excited. I started my speech, and I started reading through my book, and he got up and left, and I was just there by myself. And so I just kept speaking to that chair. And I'll never forget after that, I'm kind of walking up to the counter, and there's a girl, she's there, and she's got my book. She's like, do you want to take the books home with you? And I'm like, no, just leave them here. And I walked out to my car, and I cried. I mean, I was devastated. And I laugh about it now because of where I am. But I got to tell you, there was no pain worse than an entrepreneur or somebody that's trying to build something and it doesn't succeed. It's just horrendous. And especially when your family starts to count on it and you're so desperate. Like at that point in my life, I was so desperate because I needed this. I needed to start selling because we were out of money. We couldn't pay our house. In fact, we lost our house. We lost everything. And there was so much pain. I mean, I don't know how to describe that hole. It's the only way I could say it. It was just a hole. And every time I went home and I saw those books, I hated them. I hated them. I hated myself. I thought I was a failure. I thought I was a loser. And I'd walk into my house and I'd look around and, it was just every day I'd walk in there and that was just failure. I mean, it was just kept reminding me of how much of a failure I was. And of course, I would drink. I would drink more. I was trying to escape. I couldn't figure out what to do. I couldn't figure out. I thought I was a good guy. I thought this business would work, and it just didn't work. It just didn't work. And so I stayed at it. And kept trying to sell books, and they wouldn't sell. And one day my buddy came over, and we're having a couple beers, and he said, "JB, you've got such a good message. Like people when they're around, they really pick up the energy. Why don't you share it by doing it like putting an audio out in the morning?" And I'm like, how would I do that? At this time I'm a 2-finger typist. My book, by the way, I didn't tell you, had a ton of errors in it. So they had printed the print before the edit, so it was just in bad shape. And me and my wife had made little note stickies on it saying, "I'm sorry for the grammatical errors," and put them in all the books. And he said, "Why don't you do something in the morning?" I said, "Well, I don't have any money. I can't afford anything else. I'm done." And So I went on GoDaddy or one of those sites back then, and I started looking for URLs, and MorningCoach came up. So I was like, okay, MorningCoach, that's pretty cool. Let me buy that one. So I bought MorningCoach, and I started doing these phone calls in the morning. I found freeconferencecall.com because it was free, and I said, well, I'll just do these calls. Now, I still didn't know anything about internet marketing. I was a two-finger typist. I didn't know how the heck I was going to do this. Failing, losing my house, needed money, couldn't sell a thing if my life depended on it, couldn't get a speaking job, couldn't get anything working. But every morning I'd get up and I would do this call, and nobody would listen but me. And it was so good for me to do those because it was getting me energized in the morning. It was getting my mind right. So I would actually do it for me. I wasn't even doing it for anybody else because I needed it more than anybody because everything was failing. And when I was doing that, MySpace was around at that time. We used to call it Spam Space. So I needed a website. I didn't have any money, and I'm not proud to say this. I had to pirate Dreamweaver, which is a software to build websites. Again, two-finger typist, little Sony Vaio computer that I had, one of the original minis before MacBooks and all that. And I pirated Dreamweaver, put it on my computer. Had to learn how to do that. It took me like 3 days just to figure out how to steal software. Again, I'm not proud of this, but I had no money. But I spent 3 days figuring out how to get the software because I couldn't afford it. So I finally got it. I got it on my computer, put 16 viruses on my computer doing it, but eventually got it to work. I didn't know how to use it. I was like, look at whatever. So I scraped together pennies, literally, what I could get. Went to the bookstore, and they had bookstores then, and I bought a book, How to Build a Website in 24 Hours with Dreamweaver. And I sat down on a Friday morning, I'll never forget this, at 6 a.m., and by Sunday I had a website. Pitiful website, probably the worst website ever created in the world, but I had a website, and MorningCoach.com was born. And on that I had an opt-in form, and people could send me their emails, and I gave them the conference line. And so literally I started doing these calls in the morning, and people were listening to it, and they started telling their friends. The next thing you know, we had 100 people listening. And back in the early days, I'd do it at 7:30 in the morning and 10:30 for the West Coast. And and all of a sudden, all these people were telling each other about it. People started listening, and we broke the conference line. So I started getting emails in saying, JB, I can't get in because you could only have 200 people on the conference line. So I was selling a few books to these people, but you could only have 200 people. So then I was like, I'm screwed again. What the hell? I can't win. Finally, I get some momentum. Again, at this time, we're losing the house. I got books all over. It's total desperation. And podcasting. I said, well, gosh, I got to put this out with podcasting. Well, I had no idea how to podcast. Again, two-finger typist, didn't know what to do, had no technical knowledge at all. And I started to record these calls. So I had this little thing that I would record. It was all ghetto. I'd have the phone and the recorder, and I was recording. I didn't know how to mute the line, so it would pick up everybody else. And this is a true story. In the background of the first podcast, literally, you could hear, I'd say, good morning, and I'd get everybody excited. I was getting going. In the background, you could hear everybody else, what they were doing. And there was this background, you could hear this tink, and then a stream, psss, and then a flush. And there was a guy going in the bathroom in the back, and I didn't know that, so I was putting these up on iTunes. I had no idea how to mute or edit or any of that stuff. And so I get all these emails saying, JB, the guy's going to the bathroom again. Can you please mute the lines? And I mean, literally all these emails. And I just sucked. The dog would bark in the background. I mean, it was horrendous. I still don't understand why people listen, but they did. And I just kept at it, started selling a few more books. And one day we had 400 listeners. And then the next day we went to 40,000. I went to #1 on iTunes. I beat Oprah and Ellen. And the podcast just took off. And that was in 2007. I put 12,000 people in a membership site. Still not making any money. People wanted to know what I was doing, so I started an internet marketing company or web-based company, so we're building websites. But I went back to a 9-to-5, and so I found myself going into an office again, hating my life, doing my podcast and hating my life because I had to sell these websites and manage and be there all day, and I'm like, screw this. And my 17-year-old German Shepherd died. I'll never forget the day, and I wasn't making any money. My podcast was one of the top in the world, was getting thousands of downloads every day. It wasn't monetized. I mean, people were telling me they'd sponsor me for $500 a month, and I'm like, that doesn't even pay my car payment, And so my wife's Colombian. We flew to Colombia, and I came back, and I said, you know what? It's time. We're going to go from free to paid. I'm not doing this for free anymore, and I'm just going to tell everybody it's $20 a month. If you want to be with me, it's great. If you don't, awesome. And literally out of the 12,000, 9,800 said, screw you, JB. we're not going to pay for this. You're a jerk. And I mean, literally, if you go to iTunes, you could see back in 2009 when I did this, all the hatred, all the people that said you're a jerk, you're an a-hole. I mean, you should just see the reviews that I got. They're just horrendous. I can't believe I listened to you for 2 years. But what I learned was that 1,200 people did go with me, and that was the start. And those 1,200 people were the people I loved. And I literally cried again that day because it hurt me so bad that those people hated me. But I also became a different person that day because I learned to love the ones that I'm with. And now we've got this wonderful community of people all over the world. We've got a great membership base. I do 2 big events a year that are great. I have an inner circle. I've signed with Hay House. I got a big book deal. I got another book coming out in May 2016. And, literally I'm done. I say by 9:30 a.m. Right now I'm editing my book this week, so I'm working a little bit. But I've actually brought things back where I actually do some recordings now instead of doing them every day. So I'm literally working Monday from 6 to 8 in the morning, and I'm done. I don't work. I don't have to work anymore. I have a team of about 6 to 8 people. We're building a couple other projects, but I put people in place, and I've built this lifestyle of playing golf every day. I got a new goal. I started golf at 44. I'm going to be 46 this year. I want to be on the senior PGA Tour, which is called the Champions Tour. I want to play one event in 5 years. So I'm playing golf every day. I'm a member of one of the best country clubs. Just doing amazing things. I'm not saying that to brag. I mean, this is a guy that 7, 8 years ago, we lost our house. But we've been able to build this. And it's really about designing your life and being able to go through what you need to go through to get there. And even though that book was a failure, this is a funny thing. The book is actually a success because we're republishing it with the heirs. I've sold all of them, and people want them. So we're actually selling them as collector's edition. So they're willing to pay even more for them. So it's just amazing how things have come full circle. So that's a little bit about me in the journey I've been on.
That's a fucking amazing story, my friend. I love it, and I think I'm also thankful because it's very inspiring to myself, also to listen up for myself, like the situation where I'm at right now, and I've just seen people that are in a small crisis at the moment as well. We have somebody wrote how I got fired.
Guy?
Yep.
Okay, you're back.
I'm back on.
Yep, lost you for
worst moment. Let me just hope the people didn't get disconnected.
Check.
Looks good.
Looks good.
Yeah. Just keep going.
Okay. Sorry for that. So, JB, you talked now a little bit about your road, and I think what is so fascinating to me is that you went through this dark times and you stuck with your plan instead of just like giving up. What would be like the message that you would give somebody who is or who maybe is frightened to go through such a phase like this, but who has a dream?
It sucks. I mean, I have no other way to put this. I'm a motivational guy, right? And I'm all positive. But there's times you can't be positive. It sucks. I mean, it's dark. It is what it is, but you got to keep fighting. Most people give up. And, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the failures. I mean, the last thing I want to do is write a book that failed, that ultimately made me look like an idiot in front of my friends, my mother, and everybody that I knew. It's just like getting fired. It was the same thing. I mean, I lost everything. In the face of my community, I was a loser. And you know what? I just had to become more. And that was the key. I had to grow. I had to develop. I had to take that and say, okay, is this going to defeat you? Am I going to go back and get a job, or I'm going to make this work? And you know what? We sucked it up, and it's amazing metaphysically, and I'm a metaphysical guy, how everything just turns out for your own good. When you really believe it and you believe in the greater good, it works. It works. And I got to tell you, even today, like our conversions haven't worked for 5-6 days on the site. I'm going crazy. I'm pulling my hair out. Now, it's not as dark. The money's great now. But I'm still going crazy. I still have those challenges. We all do, just like the webinar dropping. I mean, it happens. Like, that's going to happen. And so when we're faced with challenges, it's so important that we control our mindset. It's so important that we move on. I'm learning golf at a high level. When you hit a bad shot in golf, if you dwell on that bad shot, you're going to hit another one and another one and another one. And it's the same thing in life. You have to change the momentum in life. Life is about momentum. So if it starts going one way and all of a sudden it starts going negative, and I don't believe in judgment, because sometimes losing your job or having a book fail is the best thing that ever happens to you, because you have to recreate. And I had to learn how to podcast. I had to figure things out. But you got to flip the momentum. And you got to start celebrating the small victories and the little things that are happening, so you can get the momentum going the other direction. High five moments, getting the little victories going, because that's what's really going to make the change when you're going through something really dark. Flip that momentum as soon as possible.
So I'd love to talk about that quickly. You know, your story. I mean, you went through a lot of failure. So my question: how literally, how do you survive such failure? And also, what do you feel was the turning point? You said from one day to the other, it jumped to 40,000, people. What was the turning point? Was there something leading up to that? Was there just an instant thing, or what was the turning point there?
I really don't think there ever is a turning point. Let me stress that, because I'm still fighting the good fight, meaning there's always the next level. Like I feel like I've reached an area, but I need a New York Times bestseller now. And I know people that are at the beginning. It's like when people say, do what you love and the money will follow. Well, if that's not happening yet, you never believe that. It's like, come on, that doesn't work. You might believe it in your heart, but it doesn't work. The thing is, it's always a progression. So when we talk about lifestyle design, which is what you guys are about and what I love, it's always a progression. So it's tiny steps, and it's always moving to make your life a little bit better, make your life a little bit better. It's like golf. Now my handicap needs to come down. It needs to get better. My business needs to get bigger. I need to make bigger impact. But when things were really sucking, like it was really a crisis, it was like, I have to get in this moment and I have to pay the bills. The house, we can't make the mortgage, so what are we going to do? We're going to have to fail on the mortgage, and we're going to have to go get a house that can survive and keep this dream alive. That was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made. In the U.S., when you give up on a mortgage, it ruins your credit. And it just is such, when you're an MBA and a guy that's very proud, made a lot of money in his life, and you have to tell the bank, look, we can't make this payment anymore. We're going to have to find another place. And you're trying to be the provider, and you look at your wife, and she looks at you. It sucks. But you know what? In order to keep the dream alive, we had to take that one negative and say, okay, look, this isn't working. It's too much money. We can't afford it. Let's downsize, go to a smaller place, and make this work. And when you're in the shit, you have to take it day by day. That's the key. And you have to work in the moment. You can't get too far ahead. You got to say, how are we going to survive this week? We might have to eat ramen noodles this week. We can't go out. We got to cut our budget down. I mean, that's what living a life is really about, is making the sacrifices and then making the judgments. Now, it's a little bit different. It's like, okay, where are we going to invest this money and our energy of our team to make it work even better? So instead of like, how are we going to survive, now it's how we're going to thrive. So depending on where you are in your business and the design in your life, that's what you got to do. And you know what? Sometimes you got to take a job at McDonald's. It's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you got to step back and pay the bills. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes in our community, in the lifestyle design community, people are down on jobs. Look, jobs pay the bills. Sometimes you need the money to keep your dream alive. Don't quit on your dream. Work it a couple hours a night. For me, I was fortunate. We survived. We with the money that we had when we left, we had put together a little money to get a company together. My wife started building a cleaning company. At the same time, I was building my business. She built her business. I built mine. Now her business is kicking ass, and my business is kicking ass. But it was 10-year progression. We both struggled, but we fed off of each other. We made that happen. And you got to just do what it takes to get through it. And sometimes the things that are going on those societal values that you hold so high, which means thinking about what other people care about, which doesn't mean shit because they don't care about you, stepping back from that and saying, okay, what is going to keep my dream alive? That's what you do. And you do it every day, whether you're really thriving or you're not. It's the same thing. It's constantly evaluating where you're at and making those changes as you go. My life is golf every day. And now it's amazing that I have made that part of my business. So much so I tell my wife when I'm off the golf course, she's like, you're going to golf again? I'm like, it's my business. I have to golf. If I don't golf, my people don't believe in the true authenticity of what I'm doing. And that is part of my life now. It's crazy, but it is. I have to go do it because I've said I'm doing it. So that's a decision that I had to make. So you've got to just look at what you want to do and every day continue to progress little by little towards it, and that will get you through.
I think that leads us to the topic of intelligent life design. What is that expression for you? What do you mean by that?
When I started Intelligent Life Design, I was looking for a way to help people break free. And most people have a job, right? And just it was my way of breaking free. It's taking your intellect, what you want to do, and then starting to build your passion or what you love to do in a business. And with the internet and the world we have today, anybody can do this. So it's working, so you pay your bills, and then spending 2 hours a night on what you love to do. So you have to figure out what you're passionate about, and then every night you have to work on it, building your tribe, getting to know people, putting out resources, and building a business around what you love. That's Intelligent Life Design.
So you wouldn't suggest people to go all in, but instead first building it and then quitting your day job.
Yes, I would not suggest that people quit their day job right away like I did. It was painful. It was miserable. There's no reason for it. I mean, you're going to make so many mistakes, so make the mistakes while you have the job. Go all in on the weekends and at night and make a lot of mistakes because there's this huge learning curve when you start building a life design business. So go make those mistakes while you have money. And then when you start to make enough money that it almost replaces your income, that's a great choice. Then move to it. Now, if you're in a financial position where you can go all in, okay, that's a different thing. That's still Intelligent Life Design because you've cut your nut balance down. You don't have responsibilities. Maybe you're young, right? That's totally cool. I'm cool with that. If you've got a family and you got responsibilities, I see this all the time. People just go all in on something, and then they get into financial trouble. And when you're in financial trouble, you do things from lack, and you have to do things out of desperation, and the sales are horrendous at that point. People smell that. I mean, they know you're desperate. It's like, why am I gonna buy anything from this person? They're so desperate that they can't even help themselves. So you've got to watch that air of desperation. It comes through in all your materials and everything you do. You can't be a desperate marketer. It's critical. In fact, I don't even, like this, I don't do much anymore. I cut off everybody. I don't do meetings anymore. I don't do any networking. I freaking hate networking. I mean, all that stuff, it's all about selectivity and who you work with. You know, I know Daniel, that's why. I mean, he's involved with what we're doing. Otherwise, I don't do this stuff. There's no reason to do it anymore. I want to work with people who value, who understand who I am, and I think that's the issue. When you come from a position of weakness and you're out there, you're doing millions of podcasts and doing a million interviews and trying to gain a tribe, you start to lose value. You can sense the desperation. And so as a lifestyle design person, it's very critical that you're never desperate. So you always have your money in reserve, and you pick and choose what you do. It's very strategic. It's very important.
Okay, thank you so much. Just a quick thing. We got an echo in the background. I don't know whether it's coming from Daniel or from
me.
You, Jamie. Yeah. Do you have the speakers as loud or something?
Let's see. No, I got headphones on. I don't have speakers up.
Okay.
Are we still getting the echo?
Test 1, 2, 3. Yep. Daniel, on your side?
I don't think so because I have the headphones.
Yeah, but you hear it too.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I'm switching stuff around.
Okay.
Helping?
Yes.
Yes, you know what happened when we jumped back on? It defaulted back to my external mic.
Okay, no worries.
All right.
Perfect.
So let me ask you a question, JB. Why do you think most people are working 8 to 12 hours in their, jobs in their business, and you finish by 9:30 in the morning and you can play golf the whole day? So what my question is essentially, what are you doing right that most people are doing wrong?
Well, I think it's all system based. I mean, I think I don't think anybody's doing anything wrong. I think people are doing what they need to do to survive. So they've been taught the wrong things. That's where lifestyle design is so much different. They've been taught the wrong things, meaning that they've been taught to go to school, get a job, and then, especially in the U.S. system. In the U.S. system, it's, you go to school, you get a job, you live to your 55, 60, you die, give half of it back to the government. That's the machine that they're taught. It just is what it is. So they're taught wrong. What I've been able to do is build systems that allow me to be free, and it's been through a lot of failure. I mean, I've experimented, and you have systems now. You have Aweber, Infusionsoft, Entreport. These are things that are getting better and better and better that I didn't even have when I started. You have mediums like this, Webinar Jam, Google Hangouts, that you can reach people. and you can get a message out, and you can start to build a tribe. So in order to, first of all, let me step back. First of all, you have to have the belief that you bring something valuable to the universe, or else you're going to trade your time for money. That's the key. So if you don't believe you have something of value to bring, you're going to trade your time for money. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of people that are extremely happy trading their time for money. And they just trade their time for money. They're secure. They come home. They got a beautiful home. They got a beautiful family. And they just do that. But there's some of us that that's not what they want to do. Freedom is my number one value. I want to be free. And so in order to be free, I had to use systems, and I had to think differently than anything that I've ever been taught, even my MBA. And I had to say, how can I create systems that are going to build a dream lifestyle for me that will help others? So it's really a systems mentality versus a time versus money mentality. And it's what we've been trained over the years. You know, this is years and years of education.
So what would be such a system? What would be an example of such a system?
Well, MorningCoach is one. You know, MorningCoach is one where I do a daily coach cast. I help people, and then they obviously pay for that every day, and I can reach a lot of people. Well, so if you look at the coaching model, a coaching model is, let me coach you one-on-one. You're limited. I mean, how many people can you coach? 10, 20 people a week? And who the hell wants to do that, right? You're just going to burn yourself out. So if you want to reach a multitude of people, why don't you make it less expensive and reach them in a different way? So that's a system mindset versus a one-on-one mindset. It's why the medical doctor model's broke. It's why the lawyer model's broke, because those people have to work. And, you know, and those are some of the people we hold to the highest standard. Well, shit, they're working every day. I don't want to work. I was playing golf with the other guy. So I have a trial all week. You know, makes more money than he can even imagine. He's in trial all week. I don't want to be in trial. So get a system together. So for me, a lawyer would be like, well, what legal advice could you put together? What could you package? You know, Jeff Walker's a good friend of ours. How could you launch a product to a lawyer group? You know, I got a buddy that was a chiropractor, of all things, for the St. Louis Rams, that sells continuing education courses to lawyers. We play golf all the time. So it's a different mindset. How can I package things in a different way than going the traditional route? So if you're a lawyer, great, be a lawyer. You know, make your money until you can build something on the side that replaces that income, then leave that and build that income. There's other, what I'm talking more is residual, which means we have to work. Like residual takes work. And then there's passive, which I also have, which is investment in real estate and stocks. Really, you don't work. The money just comes in. That's passive income. But the focus in your life should be residual and passive income if you want freedom and you don't want to trade dollars for hours, right? That's the key. So for those of us in lifestyle design, it's how can I get residual systems in place? And like I said, Entreport, Infusionsoft, those kind of systems are getting better and better to help us, Aweber, to be able to connect to tribes, Facebook, Twitter. All these are free resources, Google Hangouts, to be able to connect with people and build a business around them. You know, a lot of people ask me, how do I get 140,000 people on Facebook? How do I build? Well, if you come into my seminars, I show a picture of Jesus and the 12 disciples. And I tell people, this isn't a revival, but they look at it and they go, you know, why does he have a picture of the Last Supper up here, you know? And the reason I have a picture of the Last Supper is because Jesus started with 12 people in a bestseller and built the biggest business of all time, right? I'm not, you know, trying to put down Christianity or religion. This is total business conversation. But if you just focus on small pockets of people and start helping them, your business would grow. I teach this. Think about this. If you can make $2,000 of value with a person a year, and you can sell them $2,000 of stuff, and let's say it's worth $10,000 to them or $20,000 to them, it makes their life better exponentially. If you have 500 people at $2,000, that's $1 million business. It's 500 people. Every person that's watching this webinar knows 500 people. You just got to get around the right people who can teach you the systems and the structures to be able to build a business that's $1 million business. And you got to be able to put together enough value that people are going to spend you $2,000. And I always say, if you're going to do $2,000 worth of value, it needs to be $10,000, $20,000 worth of value. And they will buy from you year after year after year after year, and you got $1 million business. This is, you know, I was on the phone with Wayne Dyer. And some of you may know Wayne Dyer. He's a big author, Dr. Wayne Dyer, bestseller around the world. And you know, one day we were talking, and he said, JB, I said, he goes, how's your business going? I said, well, you know, it's hard. You know, personal development's hard. It's a hard business. Self-help is a hard business. And he looked at me, and Eric, you know, I was on the phone, and I heard silence, and I was like, Wayne, Dr. Dyer, and he says, it hasn't been hard for me. And the truth is, it isn't hard. It's just the time that you have to put into it, and it'll work. Because it hasn't been hard for me. I'm not paying the price for this success. I'm enjoying the price. You know, all those things I went through, I love it now. But you've got to get yourself in a position where, look, think differently. Like I'm saying, 500 people, $2,000. Well, gosh, what if it's 100 people at $2,000? That's 200 grand. What if it's 50 people at $2,000? What if it's 10 people at $2,000? And work backwards, you know. And a lot of people are making $20,000, $30,000 a year. And what I find, I teach Pathway to Freedom, is most people can be free at $4,000 to $8,000 a month residual. Most people, that's all they need. $4,000 to $8,000 a month will create freedom for the rest of their life. So it's like, how can I create that revenue stream is what people need to be thinking about, instead of how can I go get a job to create the income. Make sense?
Totally.
Absolutely. So, like, there are a lot of people out there who probably have 1,000 ideas, right? What they would love to do, what they would like to do. How do you create the focus and like not get distracted by so much stimulus that is out there, right? So like I can only speak for myself. I have 100 ideas every day, and I start that a little bit, and then I go into this a little bit, and then oftentimes I feel that there's the challenge of really finishing something and really going through with something. How do you create the focus to do that?
I love that question, because that is the book coming out in May 2016 with Hay House. It's called The Sacred Six. So I love it, because that's one of my secrets that's helped me. I only focus on 6 projects at one time, and in order for one of those to replace it, better be damn good, or I better finish one of them. It's much deeper than that. I have a whole system and structure for that called The Sacred Six that we're releasing, which is going to be cool. But for the very basic idea is, have 6 things or 7 things, no more than that, and never bring anything else. Don't chase any butterflies until one of those 6 is completed, or you're able to take one away. So it better be really good, okay? 6 things. That's it. That's it. And then don't be afraid to fail at those 6. You know, Kenny Rogers says you got to know when to hold them, you got to know when to fold them, right? In the old song. So you've got to really be able to understand when something's not working. And really, a lot of that's metaphysical. You got to feel intuitively like it's time to change paths, it's time to change directions. And there's times when you got to fight forward. A lot of that has to do with prioritization. But in the very basic sense is, get those 6 things, prioritize them, and don't work on anything else, any other projects, just those 6, until one's completed or one's failing so bad or something comes that's so great that you can replace one and put one on.
So when you say projects, I mean, I remember like 3 years ago when I started listening to Morning Coach, you talked about the Sacred 6 quite a bit. And when you say projects, what do you mean by that? Do you mean, you know, don't have more than 6 businesses at the same time, or is it smaller than that?
I would break it down smaller. So if you have a job, okay, which a lot of people do, I'd say they may have 2 Sacred 6 projects. See, most people have a job and they got 18 things going on. They're writing a book, they're trying to start a business, they're building an MLM, you know, then somebody comes with another opportunity, they go do that, and they're just so scattered. So it's really about prioritization and honing it down. So if you're a full-time person in a lifestyle design, it's 6 things that you're working on, maybe a couple business units. So like Morning Coach. Morning Coach is one for me. We're launching Morning Coach Wellness, which is another. My book with Hay House is another. Those are 3. Golf is 4, okay? So there's 4 already taken. I don't have much room. That's why I can't add many things in here. You know, we're doing some stuff with our inner circle now in our events, which I would consider those 5. I got 1 open spot, and it's not really open because it's Spanish. So I have 6 things that are taking up my life, and I can't add anymore. That's why I have to say no a lot, and it sucks, because I say no to a lot of really rocking things, but it just is what it is. You know, I have to say no because I can only do 6 things. I only got so many hands and so much time, and plus I want to play golf every day. So whittle it down and prioritize the 6 things, and that again, it's a mindset. That's why I do Morning Coach. Everything's about mind. So when you sit down, it's all prioritization. Most people don't prioritize. You know, they'll spend more time on their wedding, you know, which is 1 day in their life, than they do to sit down and say, what's important to me? And every quarter you should sit down and say, what am I working on? And when somebody brings you something, hey, I can't fit it in. I can't fit it in unless it's you know, something, it can take precedence over something else. It's all about prioritization.
So like how do you prioritize then? Like do you use your intuition only, or are there several things that go into it? Like
Yeah.
because I just think of like only 6 things. That's really not a lot, right?
Exactly, and that's why a lot of people don't get anything done and they don't finish. So it's getting 6 things that are very important to you, and you sit down and just prioritize based by intuition and what's important. For me, it's deeper. It's about a mission. Sacred Six is about a mission and things that you want to accomplish in life. So when you have your mission, there's going to be 6 things that are going to help you make that mission. Then you're going to have values that align to that mission. So you've got to get those 6 things that are going to help you reach that mission. Now that mission may change. There could be a car accident, right? And somebody could get hurt. And your mission may be to go help your mother who was in a car accident. And everything changes then. The whole game changes. So it has to be flexible. But you've got to have a mission of what you're really going after. And it's like maybe it's to get to that $8,000 a month. Okay, what are the 6 things that are going to help you get there? What are the 6 things that are going to help you get there that you're going to stick with and are going to get there? And you're not going to change it until you complete them, right? That's what you got to focus in on. And then when somebody comes and says, oh, I got this great business opportunity, you should do this. It's like, no, I can't. I got these 6 things that are going to get me to the $8,000 a month or the $4,000 a month. I got to stick with these. And if one thing's just in a crash and burn and totally failing, like the book, well, a lot of times the focus goes from plan A to plan B to plan C. The book was one of my original projects, right? But it took me down this path to MorningCoach because that was actually plan F because I failed at A, B, C, D, E, and I think that was like plan F. But plan F finally worked. So it's that focus, not being distracted, continuing down that focus, and then feeling out what's working, what's not, and continually just really making those things better and better until completion. Then when you complete it, it's like, well, now I can bring your project in because I have room, I have space. And that's what's going to help you. And that's why I get more done in the morning than anybody else. I get up at 6:30 and I'm done by 9. I literally am. I mean, I don't need any more time than that. I usually click delete all my emails. I just look at my emails and I select them all and push delete. Wouldn't you love to do that? It's awesome.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I just delete everybody's email and I say, get me on Twitter. If you really get me on Twitter. And you know what? When you have your 6 opportunities, you can click delete because you don't need anything. See, everybody's so damn fucking needy. I'm so tired of it. Stop being needy and start to build your business on what you want to do. That's lifestyle design. That's intelligent life design. I know it sucks. I know it hurts. But suck it up. Stop depending on other people and get your shit together. Get the 6 things you're going to work on and work on them every day. It's not that complicated. If I can do it, I know everybody that's listening can do it because I'm a C and D student. There's absolutely nothing special about me except maybe I'm dumb enough just to stick with things long enough that they finish. And that's, I hope I inspire people to do that.
Just to get the perspective, how much time did it take to really create MorningCoach from the start until now? How many
5
years
years.
is that?
5 years.
Yeah.
Before I made any money, before I made a dime. 5 years of struggle, 5 years of pain, 5 years of heartache, 5 years of looking in the mirror going, why isn't this working? 5 years of saying, what is wrong with this? I should just go get a job. I should just go get a job. Let me just quit. 5 years. So how many people would have given up? And I think that's the difference. It was one of my priorities. I knew that it would work. I believed in the concept. And I got to tell you, there's days that I go, even now that it's rocking, I say maybe I don't want to do this anymore. I mean, I wake up and it's like, man, do I want to do? Maybe I want to go? Because I'm the type that I rebel against everything. If it gets popular, I rebel against myself. I like everything that's counter to like what everybody else likes. So even myself, it's like, man, I need to rebel against me. I need to go do something different. But I mean, people got to believe in themselves. It all starts with self-value. It all starts with you. If you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to get through those times because what happens is it's all about belief. So when you don't believe and nobody else believes, it's the hardest time. It's not going to work. So you have to believe because eventually other people are going to believe and then it gets easy. That's like now. I'm speaking at the Florida Speakers Association this Saturday. I'm doing it as a give back. I'm just doing it because that's where I started. That's where I went in and nobody believed me. I sat in the back of the room and now I'm in the front of the room. It's going to be surreal because I'm going there just to give back and be the guy in the front of the room. But, it's like I was that guy like 2 minutes ago. Time is just relative. I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday. And so having gratitude, having belief is really the foundation to build a life that you love.
Having gratitude, having belief. I just want to get in one question of Zur. I hope I said the name right. And I think it goes very much into what you already said, but maybe there are some other he calls it rules of thumb to start with a positive lifestyle. So he would like to have a few rules of thumb for a positive lifestyle.
Well, I think, this is one of the problems with positive people. And I'm one. I'm morning coach, for God's sake, right? I'm always positive, is that we don't affirm our dark side. And you need both. I mean, you need the dark and you need the light. It's the way life is. And so when you're in darkness, that's the time when you got to say, okay, let me get a little positive here. Let me step back to my spiritual basis, or whatever you do to get positive. So many of us, we get into the light and everything's going good. Well, it's easy to be positive then. But you got to get ready for the darkness. The darkness comes. It ebbs and flows. Anybody that tells you that it's all roses and puppies and love, it's crazy. It's not that way. That's not life. And so you got to live a positive life is to live a real life, understanding there's going to be peaks and valleys. There's going to be times when we're fired up to do things. There's going to be times when things suck. We get the idea. This is the best time. We want to remodel the house. We're all excited. We have the vision. Then we get in the house and we start to remodel and we go, why didn't I hire somebody to do this? What have I got myself into? It's all about awareness and realization. That's what positivity is. That's why I do Morning Coach every morning, because I need it. I need to listen to it in the morning and go, okay, suck it up, JB. Let's work on your goals. Let's make sure we're moving forward. Let's spend your time building your dream life. And you know what? You're going to appreciate it. And that's the key, the appreciation and the gratitude. That's the rule of thumb for the positive life. And there are times it sucks. The frickin' webinar goes out, or the conversions aren't working. Our conversions aren't working. I'm screaming at everybody. Why? What's going on with the website? So you're going to have the good and the bad and in between, and you just got to keep fighting the good fight. I hate that. That's cliche, but that's the truth. And you need people like me. You need people like Tony. You need people like you guys that are doing this to help keep us inspired. That's the truth. And I know a lot of people say, it's bullshit, I don't need that stuff. But we do. We all need to see other human beings being great. I love to see LeBron James get $120 million. I don't get pissed off about it. I think another human being got a $120 million contract. That means I can do it. Maybe I'm not an athlete, but somebody manifested that money. I love to see Google's valuation continue to grow. I celebrate that ability to create. And most people don't. They get jealous and they have animosity. You've got to change that mindset to more prosperity consciousness, have gratitude for your life, appreciate your creativity, appreciate your value, and that's what really is a positive life.
I want to go into that a little bit quickly, because I work with a lot of entrepreneurs that, are people like Apple called the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels. People, who are called crazy and unrealistic with their ventures and their ideas, because they're too big, they're too disruptive. Nobody's ever done that before. That's crazy even to try it. So this is a really hard path to be on. What would you say would be something specific people like that can do in order to keep being keep moving forward and keep progressing and not giving up at some point?
Open a journal up, write down why you're doing what you're doing, and look at it every day. And then I'm not talking about a car or a house. Find that reason why you wake up in the morning. And if you don't wake up in the morning excited, and if you can't sleep at night, your why's not big enough. It's not big enough. And I mean, this is a consistent thing that you look at every day, and you journal the progress. Write your story. And you get up in the morning, and you look at that why, and you go to bed at night, and you think about that why, and you shouldn't be able to sleep. And if you get that depth of why, I don't care what you say or what I say, it won't matter. It's all about understanding the depth of why you're doing what you're doing. That's the key. That's really motivation. No motivational speaker can motivate you. All they do is wake up the why in you.
On the other side, what would you say are like the 3 factors that delayed your success the most? That was another question from Zur.
No, it's great. I think health was one of them. I wasn't in shape. I went the other way. A lot of people gain weight. I went down like 145 pounds. I look like a heroin addict. I've never done heroin, but I look like one. And I had to get myself in shape. So I joined some Israelis, and I started doing this fighting training for 3 years. I got myself, so I had the energy. I started eating right, started taking care of myself. This is all self-love. So I just didn't love myself. If you don't take care of yourself, that's a first area of prosperity. You have got to take care of yourself if you're going to be an entrepreneur, because you need the energy. I mean, you need the energy to get through those those brick walls that we're all fighting through. That was the first area of my success. The second was I just didn't believe in myself. You know, I went and did a PhD, a non-traditional PhD, because I thought I needed letters behind my name. I literally thought that to be successful in my business, you needed gray hair. It's a true story, and I just, you know, people would believe me. And so I had to really work on myself. I had to build my belief. And I'm at the point in my life, I don't mind saying that that was me. You know, I just didn't believe. So those are the two ones, my health. And they were interrelated, because as I got in better shape, I started feeling better about myself, and I started to believe more in myself. So they kind of are interrelated. But those are the two things. I think that's what all of us get left behind with, is fear and limiting beliefs. They kill us all. Those are two horrible things.
Did you create any kind of support network, or like how did you create or did you have people around you that supported your success? Or
that's a great great point. That's another I was egoic. I didn't believe I needed that. I didn't believe I needed events. I didn't believe I needed a mastermind. I'm now in a mastermind that costs $36,000 a year. And I don't mind saying that. Those masterminds have changed my business and changed my life.
Yes.
I now attend more events than I've ever attended, and I still don't like to do them. I normally speak at them, but I attend, and I think people need to get out, you know, and I didn't do that. That hindered my success. I thought I knew everything, and I didn't know anything. And my success is paramount to what I've been able to build. And now I actually have my own inner circle, my own mastermind that generates a lot of revenue for the company, and actually I get a lot of information. I take more away from them than they do from me. I don't want them to tell that, because they're the most amazing people in the world. But yeah, I didn't believe in any of that. I didn't believe in coaching. I'm the morning coach, and I thought I don't need that bullshit. But I needed it, and that's what really hindered my success. I could have accelerated much faster by listening to people that had been there before and got the coaching that I needed.
So who are the right people to be around?
Well, I would say, again, it's analyzing your mission and what you want to do and getting around people that are doing what you're doing. That's it. I mean, get around people that are living the way you're living and doing the things you're doing. I mean, it's that simple. You don't have to get that complicated. You know, and make sure you go through the emperor wears no clothes, too. I mean, there's a lot of people that can market the hell out of stuff, and then when you really find out who they are, they're not real. So authenticity is very important. Make sure that you're following people that you can trust and are authentic and are not, you know, just great marketers, because there's a lot of those out there too. So you got to create that separation.
Yeah, and wouldn't you agree that's also great to have like people that are a little bit ahead of your journey?
100%.
So, like, people would do the same thing probably, but they just are one step ahead. And it can also be in an area. You could be further in another area, but you create that, like, those relationships where you can feel like you will benefit something from it in some kind of area.
100%. 100%.
This will push you very fast towards your point.
100%, and I wouldn't even say it's a similar area, but like golf, for example, I can't learn from the best professional. I can't learn from Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods can't teach me anything, but I could teach a guy that's a little bit better could teach me more than Tiger Woods, because he's been where I have been, and recently. So 100%. That's why sometimes, you know, coaches, you know, get somebody that's close to you, or go to an event and meet people that are doing things that are similar to what you want to do. That's the secret, and all of a sudden you can start to build relationships with those people. And I missed out on that. I really did, and it caused me issues. But that's one of the reasons I put MorningCoach together, because I wanted to find people that were like-minded, and so I actually built my own tribe, which has been great.
When you quit your job to chase your dream, how did you stay positive when the bills started piling up? Jeff is in that situation now, and he asked that question. How did you stay positive? Or did you even stay positive?
No, I didn't. It was disastrous. It sucked. You know, I didn't stay positive. I was desperate. I was anxious. I was stressed out. But I would get up in the morning and I would say, this is what you wanted. This is what you wanted. This is your dream, so go make it work. So I'm not going to say it's easy to be positive. Yeah, I listen to Tony. I listen to MorningCoach, my own stuff. You know, I tried to stay as positive as I possibly could. But 90% of the time I wasn't positive. I was stressed. I was trying to figure out how to pay bills. And so I had to step back and say, okay, execute, execute, execute. What am I going to do that's going to get me there? You know, what am I doing today that's going to help me change my situation tomorrow? And what can I focus on? And that's what I started doing. And again, one of the things I didn't have was great coaches. I did in the form of books, in the form of videos, but I really think you've got to find value. You see, a lot of people get themselves into tough situations financially, and when they should be spending money on help, they're spending money on other things, and they don't realize it. So it's like, look in the refrigerator. Is there beer in the refrigerator? Is there cable TV? You know, there's times when you got to suck it up. You got to shut all that shit off, and you got to get down to the bare minimals and just survive. And that's what I had to do, and that's why I'm successful today. Sucked. It sucked. Not real happy with it, but it is what it is.
Daniel, did you have another question?
I think there was another one in the chat room from Jay.
Mm-hmm.
When you're at your best, what's your favorite part of your business to work on?
Oh, that's a great one. I love helping people. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what I do. I mean, there's nothing better for me or more rewarding than when I see somebody take a hold of their dream and make a difference. You know, I have a girl, Janelle Mills, who listened to me for years, and her baby's butt got burned on a swing, and she came home and she said, you know what, I could probably develop a product that would help people like this. And then I saw her on Shark Tank. And I know that she came from listening to Morning Coach to then developing this product to then being on Shark Tank was super cool. And so for me, when I'm at my best, it's like, well, how can we impact more people? My little puppy's here too, bugging me a little bit. Sorry, guys, I don't know if you can hear him, but there's nothing better than just seeing the success of others and celebrating their success. You know, we have a girl in our Facebook community, Wanda, who really was pretty big. I mean, big girl, and she's just lost so much weight. I just love that. I don't know. That's my thing. I just try to figure out more ways that I can help people.
Well, there is another question from Jenny. Any tips on time management?
You know, I don't really believe in time management. I believe in focus management. I think time management's 1970s. I think time management left when cell phones came out. I mean, we have Twitter, we have Skype, we have cell phones, we have emails, we have more distractions that we can even imagine. You know, I got my Word document up here, and basically I put it in Scrivener, I push a button, and everything goes blank. It shuts everything off so I can focus. So I think instead of worrying about your time management, get your tasks in place and worry about focusing in on them, and you'll be amazed at how much you get done.
Yeah, I spent lately so much time on like having tools that shut off Facebook, to remove my phone, stuff like that. I completely agree with that.
That's the key. There's no time management. You got this. You do. Just get focused. That's the key.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. I think we're slowly coming to an end. I think there were a lot of interesting points. I'm so thankful to you, JB, to take the time, that you did take the time, that you answered all those questions, that you, like, I was fascinated by your story. Thank you for that very much. And I'm happy to say that we're going to see each other soon in Miami. Or Fort Lauderdale. I'm going to fly over there. I'm happy to meet you in person. And if people would like to get in touch with your stuff, morningcoach.com is probably the best way. Are there any other ways how they can?
There's Glossinger.com too, which is my website, Glossinger.com. That's another place, so it's cool. Yeah, I'm all over the web as Morning Coach though, so if somebody wants to reach out, it's great.
Cool. If you guys want to see the replay of that webinar, it's basically the same link, and it's also going to be on the YouTube channel of the Lifestyle Design Convention. So if you guys want to check out, that's a lifestyle design convention, just YouTube it or Google it, and you will find that. Daniel, any last words?
It was awesome having you here, JB. Thank you so much, and I'm gonna see you in October as well. I'm coming over with Kai to Fort Lauderdale, so we're gonna have a blast there.
We'll have a blast, brother. It's always great to see you, man. Anything I can do, you know, that's what it's about. In between golf, that is. Anything I can do in between golf.
Cool. So we're gonna end this broadcast. JB, you can stay on for another second if you would like to. Guys out there, thank you so much for your questions. Thank you for being with us. That's the reason why we do this, is to maybe help you guys a little bit. It definitely helps me every time I do this. Thank you so much, Daniel, for being with me. Thank you so much, JB, for being with me. And we're out. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.